Continuing from the previous chapter, Xiao Yan encountered a mysterious and powerful woman named Su Shuiying within the ancient tomb. They each obtained a Yin-Yang Heart, with Xiao Yan taking the Black Yin-Yang Heart. Upon swallowing it, a terrifying power surged through his body. Xiao Yan's gaze grew intense at this moment. He wasn't naive enough to believe that the Yin-Yang power in the stone coffin and throne was the primordial Yin-Yang of heaven and earth. Considering that Su Shuiying's acquisition of the white Yin-Yang Heart was hidden by a mysterious array, preventing it from being seen alongside the Black Yin-Yang Heart, it was likely that this so-called Yin-Yang power was the union of male and female energies. To put it nicely, it was the power of Yin-Yang. More bluntly, it was a force for dual cultivation. Xiao Yan had heard of using such power to enhance oneself, but the idea that this despised practice could happen right before him was astonishing. When Xiao Yan realized that the tomb's owner and his lover had used this Yin-Yang union to cultivate, his expression grew strange. He then looked towards Su Shuiying, who was meditating in midair on the azure lotus. From a small inscription, Xiao Yan understood that the tomb's owner had orchestrated this deliberately. Who would casually examine those inconspicuous marks in the corners of the coffin's walls? If an ordinary person, unaware of the secret, randomly refined the Yin-Yang Heart, they would suffer the fate described on the coffin wall, burning to death. Even in death, the tomb's owner seemed to delight in tormenting those who came after, leaving Xiao Yan somewhat speechless. As Xiao Yan observed, Su Shuiying remained calm, showing no sign of the supposed burning demise. This made Xiao Yan doubt the authenticity of the words on the coffin wall. Could these inscriptions be deceptive? Or perhaps the Yin-Yang Heart has lost its potency over time? Xiao Yan muttered in slight disappointment. However, just as Xiao Yan finished speaking, a sudden surge of energy resonated from above. He quickly looked up to see violent energy fluctuations emanating from Su Shuiying within the azure lotus. Just as I thought. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's heart skipped a beat. On the azure lotus, Su Shuiying's bamboo hat fell off, revealing her snow-white skin, which now flushed with a faint redness. Xiao Yan sensed an extremely pure and potent energy emanating from her, causing ripples in the light barrier surrounding the lotus. At this moment, Su Shuiying clearly noticed something amiss. Coldness flashed in her clear eyes as she swiftly moved her slender hands, releasing a powerful surge of azure do qi from within her, trying to suppress the rampant energy. The azure lotus flickered, and waves of ferocious azure energy continuously radiated from Su Shuiying, showing that she was engaged in a fierce internal battle. Below, Xiao Yan was astonished to see Su Shuiying temporarily suppressing the Yin-Yang Heart's energy, silently marveling at her terrifying strength. However, despite the stalemate, it was only temporary. The Yin-Yang Heart was the essence of a lifetime of cultivation from a peak 7-star Do D. Even though Su Shuiying was incredibly gifted, her current strength was still somewhat lacking. Thus, after a few minutes of struggle, the light barrier of the azure lotus suddenly shattered, and Su Shuiying was enveloped in an aura of pure yin energy. If this had occurred under normal circumstances, the yin energy would have been a great supplement for Su Shuiying. However, too much of a good thing can turn into a deadly poison. If she couldn't neutralize this pure yin energy, it would accumulate within her body and eventually ignite into pure yin fire, burning her body from the inside out. This is all your fault. Although Su Shuiying was an innocent maiden, she fully grasped the precarious situation she was in. It seemed that, what a despicable scoundrel. Standing abruptly on the azure lotus, Su Shuiying's voice turned icy as she raised her hand, unleashing a powerful burst of azure do qi. It transformed into a giant palm that struck the throne and the stone coffin with a resounding force. The stone coffin and the bones within were shattered into dust, though the bones on the throne remained intact. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's mouth twitched slightly. This woman was clearly no pushover. After taking the Yin-Yang Hearts, she immediately obliterated the remains of the tomb's owner and his wife. Xiao Yan cautiously retreated a few steps. The woman seemed on the verge of going berserk, and approaching her now could easily result in a deadly slap, with no chance to complain about it. Unnoticed by either of them, faint red glimmers began to flicker among the dust from the shattered stone coffin. After venting her anger by smashing the coffin, Su Shuiying's delicate body trembled once more. She could feel a flame slowly taking shape within her, but this flame was not hot. Instead, it exuded an overwhelming coldness, freezing her abundant do qi within her body. With her current strength, it was indeed difficult to resist the legacy of a peak 7-star do di. Su Shuiying's clear eyes flickered rapidly, and after a brief hesitation, she clenched her teeth and shifted her gaze to the only other person present. When Su Shuiying finally turned her attention toward him, Xiao Yan's face twitched slightly as he slowly began to back away. He forced a smile and said, "Miss Su, I think it's best not to linger here any longer. I'll take my leave now." As soon as the words left his mouth, he darted toward the bronze gate. Seeing Xiao Yan fleeing so quickly, Su Shuiying couldn't help but chuckle angrily. Why didn't he have the sense to leave earlier? Xiao Yan's attempt to escape was ultimately unsuccessful. Just as he was about to reach the bronze gate, a powerful force surged from behind him. Reacting quickly, he dodged to the side, allowing the powerful gust of wind to crash against the tightly shut bronze gate. Realizing that the gate remained firmly closed despite the forceful impact, Xiao Yan could only turn back in resignation. He looked toward Su Shuiying, who was now floating toward him on the azure lotus, and frowned slightly. "What do you want? You getting into trouble has nothing to do with me. Hand over that Black Yin-Yang Heart." Su Shuiying, feeling the unusual changes within her body, angrily demanded from Xiao Yan. "Sorry, I already swallowed it." Xiao Yan opened his mouth wide, showing the azure lotus woman that it was too late. The Yin-Yang Heart, condensed by a peak 7-star do di, contained immense power. Xiao Yan knew he couldn't defeat this woman, so he had swallowed it immediately after obtaining it. "Spit it out." The woman's face flushed with a touch of pink, and her tone softened unexpectedly. "Once it's in my stomach, there's no way it's coming back out," Xiao Yan replied indifferently. "You knew all along that the Yin-Yang Heart was problematic?" Hearing this, Su Shuiying's eyes flashed with coldness, and her once clear and melodious voice turned icy. At this moment, Xiao Yan didn't want to provoke her further, though she didn't seem to fear him. The coffin walls had warnings written on them, but I only realized the truth after you started refining the Yin-Yang Heart. Didn't you notice? Xiao Yan quickly tried to absolve himself, knowing that the woman was no longer in a mood for reasonable conversation and might lash out at any moment. Su Shuiying's expression flickered with anger. She certainly hadn't thought to check the inside of the coffin walls for any inscriptions, and even if she had, she wouldn't have ended up in this predicament. Su Shuiying also understood that there was another way to absorb the power of the Yin-Yang Heart, aside from the Yin-Yang Union, by refining both the black and white beads simultaneously. Xiao Yan. As Su Shuiying's expression shifted, the purine energy surrounding her grew even stronger. She fixed her gaze on Xiao Yan, her previously cold voice suddenly becoming much softer. "What is it?" Xiao Yan asked cautiously, sensing that something was off. While an ordinary person might have been captivated by the soft words of such a fairy-like beauty, Xiao Yan remained vigilant. "I would like to borrow the black bead inside you. If I can resolve my current predicament, I promise to reward you generously," Su Shuiying said softly. "That doesn't seem appropriate. My master once told me that I must remain pure until I reach the level of a 7-star do di," Xiao Yan replied with a forced smile. Of course, Xiao Yan was bluffing. He had no master, and there was no rule about remaining pure until becoming a 7-star do di. His words were simply a polite way of refusing. "Don't worry, young master. It's not necessary for men and women to engage in dual cultivation to extract the yang energy. Even if you've already swallowed the black bead, I have other ways to retrieve it," Su Shuiying said with a faint smile, though her jade-like hands clenched slightly upon hearing Xiao Yan's refusal. "Be careful, Xiao Yan. This woman likely intends to forcibly extract the Black Yin-Yang Heart from you. Since you've already swallowed it, the terrifying flame power within you has probably begun refining it. However, to perfectly absorb the Yin-Yang Heart's power, Yin and Yang must be united. If she forcibly extracts the black bead's energy, it will severely damage your foundation, and the consequences will be dire." The voice of the Golden Dragon King suddenly echoed solemnly in Xiao Yan's mind. "Heh, If the power was obtained through normal yin-yang union, both parties would greatly benefit. But this woman is clearly proud and aloof. Even the young talents like Wu Huan couldn't catch her eye, so she certainly wouldn't resort to such a method with you. Don't even dream of her offering herself to you. Given the situation, she might just open you up and take the black bead directly. Damn, this woman is ruthless. Hearing the Golden Dragon King's warning, Xiao Yan's scalp tingled with fear. Without hesitation, he said, "Miss Su, I think you should find someone else. I'm really not suitable for this." You. Su Shuiying's expression instantly turned furious at Xiao Yan's blunt rejection. His words were too sharp. "Xiao Yan, I've said that no matter the cost to you, I'll compensate you several times over." Though anger simmered within her, Su Shuiying's self-control was remarkable. Even now, she took a deep breath and tried to soften her tone. "Not interested. Farewell." Xiao Yan ignored her words, clasped his fists in a polite gesture, and then swiftly retreated. At the same time, a heavy ruler appeared beneath his feet, and with a grasp of his hand, the ancient ruler of heavenly flames materialized. Boom! As Xiao Yan retreated, the fiery power behind him surged forward, crashing heavily against the bronze gate. Despite the immense force, the tightly shut gate did not budge. Damn it! Xiao Yan was shocked. The sturdiness of this stone gate far exceeded that of an ordinary one, and it seemed there was no way out for the time being. Xiao Yan cautiously watched the changing expressions of Su Shuiying, who stood on the azure lotus. Seeing this, Su Shuiying's gaze grew colder. With her internal condition worsening, she could no longer afford to delay. With a wave of her hand, the azure lotus beneath her feet shot out beams of azure light, which spread like countless azure threads, rushing toward Xiao Yan. "Since young master Xiao Yan refuses to cooperate, I'm afraid I must offend you." Seeing that Su Shuiying was finally making a move, Xiao Yan's expression darkened slightly. His douqi surged within him, and the ancient ruler of heavenly flames in his hand emitted a milky white glow. The ruler's shadow flickered as it struck the incoming azure threads with force. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew in midair. Each time Xiao Yan's ruler met the azure threads, a powerful counterforce surged through him. Although much of it was absorbed by the ancient ruler of heavenly flames, the residual impact still forced Xiao Yan to retreat rapidly, a bitter taste rising in his throat. Even with Su Shuiying's power being suppressed by the emperor's presence, the difference in strength between them was still vast. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the air, the azure threads danced wildly, gradually transforming into a net of azure light that surrounded Xiao Yan, restricting his movement more and more. Shit! As his movement space shrank, Xiao Yan could no longer wield the ancient ruler of heavenly flames effectively. In a moment of carelessness, the azure threads surged forward, tightly binding Xiao Yan. With Xiao Yan subdued, Su Shuiying stepped off the azure lotus and slowly approached. She looked at Xiao Yan's furious gaze but said nothing. Instead, she extended a finger, lightly tapping on his limbs, and Xiao Yan immediately felt his body immobilized under the grip of the azure flames. Damn it! Xiao Yan's eyes flickered with madness as he cursed inwardly. At the same time, he began to slowly merge a powerful fire lotus seed in his hand. The azure flames danced on Su Shuiying's jade-like hand. Seeing that Xiao Yan was securely bound, she gathered the azure flames once more and, under Xiao Yan's watchful gaze, directly sent them into his body. "Forgive me, young master." A cold aura emanated from Su Shuiying's body as she spoke. "How is this possible? The Black Yin-Yang Heart has already been refined by you?" Su Shuiying exclaimed in disbelief as she sensed that the black bead was no longer in Xiao Yan's body, replaced by a pool of terrifying black liquid energy. As the azure flame entered Xiao Yan's body, it suddenly encountered resistance from the 23 types of heavenly flames within him. Additionally, something deep inside Xiao Yan seemed to be on the verge of erupting. The black liquid that had formed from the refined Yin-Yang Heart was also stirred, as if it were drawn to something fatal, threatening to break out. Wait, this fluctuation is... However, just as Xiao Yan let out a low roar, the Golden Dragon King suddenly spoke up. The Golden Dragon King had sensed something familiar within Su Shuiying's azure flames as they entered Xiao Yan's body. Wait, my ass. If I wait any longer, I'll be turned into a dried corpse. Xiao Yan almost spat blood in frustration upon hearing the response. What is that on your forehead? Su Shuiying also seemed to come to her senses at this moment. Her delicate brows furrowed slightly as she gazed at Xiao Yan with wide, watery eyes. When Su Shuiying's azure flame touched the spot on Xiao Yan's forehead, she seemed to discover something familiar about him. Su Shuiying's bamboo hat had long since fallen off, and even the veil on her face couldn't hide the surprise in her eyes. She clearly remembered something her master had told her. During your training journey, if you encounter someone with this mark on their forehead, you must not become their enemy. If you do meet such a person, you must bring them back at all costs. We are holding something very important that must be delivered to them. These words echoed in her mind, spoken by her master. Su Shuiying's frown deepened as she recalled the sensations she had felt from Xiao Yan during their brief encounter. She could clearly sense the presence of that mark on the man before her. Moreover, she had learned of this man's name while hidden in the ruins, Xiao Yan. He shared the surname Xiao. Could it be a clan mark? Su Shuiying's sect had preserved a remnant of a clan mark, so she was very familiar with its appearance and the power it emitted. What exactly is that on your forehead? Su Shuiying asked after a brief moment of shock, her voice regaining its calm. That's my personal secret. There's no need for you to know, Xiao Yan replied evenly. Su Shuiying suppressed the strange sensations in her body and gathered all her azure do qi into her jade-like hand, launching an attack toward Xiao Yan. She had sensed something from the mark on Xiao Yan's forehead that seemed to match what her master had described, so she had to verify it. The azure do qi contained a terrifying power, as scorching as molten lava and as cold as ice. Damn it! What is this woman up to? Does she really intend to extract the Black Yin-Yang Heart that I've refined? Xiao Yan cursed inwardly. This woman was indeed formidable, and her actions were completely unpredictable, catching Xiao Yan off guard. Even with his strong will, Xiao Yan couldn't help but frown at the terrifying waves of energy emanating from her. He could clearly feel the destructive power within her do qi, indicating that she was ready to fight to the death. Although Su Shuiying's strength had been suppressed to the peak level of a 3-star do di, her true power was still overwhelming for Xiao Yan. Even facing her in this weakened state, Xiao Yan had no chance of victory. She was simply too strong. Milky white flames slowly enveloped Xiao Yan's body, and the ancient ruler of heavenly flames. Little Li also glared angrily at Su Shuiying. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying azure palm prints of do qi clashed violently with the milky white ancient ruler of heavenly flames. After the collision, Xiao Yan spat out a mouthful of blood. Cough, cough. This crazy woman is truly formidable. Her do qi alone far surpasses mine, Xiao Yan muttered, wiping the blood from his mouth. He quickly retrieved a handful of high-grade pills from his storage ring and swallowed them without hesitation, knowing he couldn't afford to hold back now. He then cast a cautious glance at Su Shuiying. Oh! Su Shuiying was visibly surprised that Xiao Yan had withstood her attack. Although it seemed like an ordinary strike, only she knew the truth. She had combined her do qi with sacred flame, a force so powerful that even a 4-star do di would have to avoid it. Xiao Yan, who had only spat a mouthful of blood and taken a few steps back after the clash, greatly surprised Su Shuiying. Master Ancestor, what was that familiar fluctuation you mentioned? Xiao Yan had felt the overwhelming suppression during their exchange, realizing that even with Su Shuiying's power currently suppressed, his chances of victory were slim. This woman is truly not simple, he thought. Fully activate your clan mark. If my guess is correct, the Golden Dragon King advised, his gaze fixed on Su Shuiying. Didn't my master say not to activate the clan mark until reaching the Do Xian level? There must be some secret behind it. Xiao Yan agreed with the Golden Dragon King but didn't dwell on it. Skyfire 3 mysterious changes. First change. Second change. Third change. Suddenly, Xiao Yan's hands rapidly formed seals, and within seconds, he had fully activated the Skyfire 3 mysterious changes. At the same time, The aura within him surged rapidly. Late 3-star Do D. Peak 3-star Do D. Half-step 4-star Do D. The scorching and violent Do Qi circulated rapidly within Xiao Yan's body, and waves of intense heat slowly permeated his veins. As the high temperatures seeped in, the blood within his veins suddenly accelerated. With his acute soul perception, Xiao Yan sensed a strange energy rushing through his veins, heading straight for his brow. As the strange energy surged through Xiao Yan's body, a faint light began to flicker at his brow. Gradually, a naturally formed mark appeared, and following that first mark, others seemed poised to emerge. Su Shuiying watched in astonishment as a purple-red mark slowly appeared on Xiao Yan's brow. Even with her usually composed nature, she couldn't help but be taken aback, a look of surprise flashing in her eyes. What is this sensation? Since Xiao Yan activated the Skyfire 3 mysterious changes, Su Shuiying had felt an even stronger fluctuation from his brow. That fluctuation was exactly the same as the mysterious mark revered by her sect. As Su Shuiying's heart filled with astonishment, the strange mark on Xiao Yan's brow slowly but surely completed its formation, flowing smoothly as if crafted by the heavens. I actually encountered it. Su Shuiying gasped, her jade hand covering her lips in shock. Under Su Shuiying's awestruck gaze, the last bit of the mark finally completed, and at the moment it settled, a profound purple-red clan mark appeared on Xiao Yan's forehead. Buzz. At the moment the clan mark took shape, Xiao Yan's blood flow suddenly sped up, and a strange, comfortable sensation spread throughout his body. Huff huff. As the clan mark formed, Xiao Yan's tightly closed eyes snapped open, and his gaze radiated with intense purple-red light. After a few moments, the light gradually receded, and the clan mark at his brow settled into place, as if it had always belonged there. Xiao Yan let out a long breath, recalling what his ancestor Xiao Xian had once said. Even if the clan mark at his brow disappeared, he could still feel the presence of a strange energy light suspended beneath it. With this clan mark, the Skyfire 3 mysterious changes would no longer need to be activated. A single thought would turn the clan mark into the perfect secret technique. However, since the Do D continent was different from the Do Qi continent, he still needed to activate the Skyfire 3 mysterious changes to fully utilize the clan mark. Are you from the Xiao clan? Su Shuiying asked, her tone devoid of the coldness that had kept others at a distance. How does she know about the Xiao clan? Xiao Yan thought, a trace of surprise flashing through his eyes. It seems she has some connection to your clan, the Golden Dragon King remarked calmly. How does she know the name Xiao clan? Xiao Yan wondered in disbelief as the woman spoke. It was important to note that even Xiao Yan himself knew little about the Xiao clan's secrets, let alone outsiders. She might have some relationship with your family, the Golden Dragon King mused. What do you mean by that? Xiao Yan asked cautiously, his gaze fixed on the woman before him. Don't misunderstand. I don't mean anything by it, Su Shuiying said, a hint of hesitation in her voice. However, as she spoke, she seemed to gain a new understanding of the stranger before her. What is she up to? Xiao Yan wondered, puzzled by Su Shuiying's behavior. Since arriving on this strange Do D continent after breaking through on the Do Qi continent, Xiao Yan had noticed that the power of his bloodline and clan mark seemed to have disappeared on this new continent. Combined with the vague information he had gathered from the Flame Mantra and Tuasha Ancient Emperor, Xiao Yan suspected that something had happened to the Xiao clan. The exact reason, however, would require further investigation. Besides, I want to confirm a few things. Please cooperate with me, Su Shuiying said, leaving no room for Xiao Yan to refuse. As soon as she finished speaking, a faint azure Do Qi began to emanate from her. As the azure Do Qi spread, it carried an overwhelming pressure that startled Xiao Yan, clearly indicating that this Do Qi was no ordinary force. Master Ancestor, what is she trying to do? Xiao Yan asked cautiously. Don't worry. This woman carries some familiar fluctuations. Soon, I should be able to determine exactly what they are, the Golden Dragon King replied, his gaze growing deeper as he focused on the faint azure Do Qi. He had sensed something from it, but couldn't yet confirm it due to the faintness of the aura. This flame can heal your injuries, Su Shuiying said softly. As she spoke, the flames around her body moved toward Xiao Yan. Swish, swish. As the flames purified Xiao Yan, he noticed that his weakened Do Qi was gradually recovering. Xiao Yan first felt a surge of joy, but then became wary. Xiao Yan knew that this woman had just tried to kill him. Why would she suddenly be so kind as to help him now? It didn't make sense. Rumble. As the azure flames continued to restore Xiao Yan's strength, they suddenly surged toward the depths of his Do Qi Sea. This bastard really has ulterior motives. Xiao Yan cursed inwardly. The Do Qi Sea was the most vital part of a cultivator's body, and if it were damaged, the consequences would be disastrous. Something Xiao Yan couldn't afford to risk. Buzz. Within a few breaths, a faint mark on Xiao Yan's brow suddenly erupted under the stimulation of the azure flames. I was right, Su Shuiying murmured, withdrawing all her power as she stared at the mysterious mark on Xiao Yan's brow. A clan mark? Why is she activating my clan mark? Xiao Yan wondered, perplexed by Su Shuiying's actions. If you have this mark on your forehead, it proves you're from the Xiao clan, Su Shuiying said softly, confirming her suspicion. No matter whether you come from the lower dimension or this dimension, if you are from the Xiao clan, then we are not enemies. We might even be considered allies. Su Shuiying's delicate brows furrowed as she stared at Xiao Yan, but her tone carried a hint of coldness that suggested she wasn't entirely friendly. What? Xiao Yan was startled by her words. So it's true, after all. The Xiao clan, in ancient times, was the most powerful existence in the Great Thousand Worlds. Because of this, they made many formidable enemies, but they also gained the allegiance of many strong factions. The Golden Dragon King's voice echoed in Xiao Yan's mind. So, does that mean this woman is from one of the Xiao clan's vassal forces? Xiao Yan found it hard to believe. Correct, though whether this vassal force holds the Xiao clan in high regard or not. The Golden Dragon King's voice trailed off. I'll show you something, Su Shuiying said softly. She raised her hand, and a beam of azure light suddenly flickered at her brow. Buzz. Instantly, the light at Xiao Yan's brow responded with a brilliant wave of energy, and to his shock, a mark identical to the one on his own brow appeared on Su Shuiying's forehead. The mark shimmered faintly, its lines intricately drawn with ancient power, exuding an awe-inspiring might. How is this possible? Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed, his face filled with disbelief. The mark on Su Shuiying's brow was unmistakably a Xiao clan mark. Xiao Yan knew that the formation of the Xiao clan mark was no coincidence. Since she possessed this mark, her identity must be intricately tied to his own. My master once told me that if I ever encountered someone with the same mark as mine, I should bring them back at all costs. We are safeguarding something very important that must be handed over to this person, Su Shuiying continued. You! Xiao Yan was momentarily speechless, unsure of how to respond. Don't worry, I'll take on the responsibility for that item. You don't need to shoulder anything. You can continue being a carefree wanderer, just like the other members of your Xiao clan, Su Shuiying added with a voice laced with sarcasm, clearly disappointed in the Xiao clan. What happened between her and the Xiao clan? Xiao Yan thought, his expression growing grim. From Su Shuiying's words, he could sense that something was seriously amiss, but he had no way to address it. Given that Su Shuiying was still angry, any rash questions from him might escalate the situation into a full-blown conflict. Boom! As the two of them stood in tense silence, the black and white yin-yang hearts they had consumed suddenly erupted with a tremendous power, catching both of them off guard. Troubles keep piling up, Xiao Yan muttered, unable to question Su Shuiying any further. He had to shift his attention to the yin-yang hearts within him. Using his powerful soul perception, he detected the unsettling energy hidden within them, a force that filled him with unease.